So, we're pushing greater rifts as a level 70 season 7 wizard. The basic spec is the fairly common Tal Rasha spec that uses Frozen Nova, Teleport, Spectral Blade, and Explosive Blast as your 4 elements, and then adds Energy Armor to get increased armor and resistance, and Magic Weapon to get some increased damage, and also give a shield on this one since this is a hardcore character. Couple that with the Ashnagar's Blood Bracer, which increases shields and dominance to give another shield, and Galvanizing Wards to get yet another shield. We've got a impressive amount of shielding, so most of the damage we're taking is actually simply being absorbed. So because of what we're doing, armor is important in this as much as anything else, also life. So if you notice, completing a Greater Rift at this level usually gives you 2 Paragon levels for having done so, so it's pretty lucrative to be running these level Greater Rifts. Most of the gear is fairly easy to obtain. The only uncommon thing I would have said would have been the Fragment of Destiny, although I've got 3 of those now fairly early on. The harder thing has been the Orb of Infinite Depth, which I did recently pick up. At this level, I recommend the Aquila Curios in the cube as the armor slot for the damage mitigation that you get, since I'm running hardcore, and I'm running the Ring of Royal Grandeur, so that I can use the 2-piece from the Firebird set to get that death mitigation, and so I can have a Hellfire Amulet in here because I don't have something better to do. I don't have the optimal setup for the spec, but as you can see, it's fairly effective as I'm pushing up towards Greater Rift level 30, or level 40 rather. So let's dig into another one. So you'll need to set off your explosive blast before you plan on going, because there's a little bit of lag time between when you hit the button and when it actually goes off. So that's just something to be aware of. It's more of a minor nuisance than anything. As you get used to it, it becomes fairly easy to take care of. But since you want to maintain those stacks of explosive blast because of the Orb of Infinite Depth as much as you can, you want to make sure that that's blasting off as often as it can with as many enemies as it can, since that is a large amount of your mitigation. As you can see, with 4 stacks, I've got 73 toughness, 73 million toughness. If it falls off, it goes down to about 25, 29. So there you have it. Definitely something you want to keep stacked up as you're pushing those higher, greater rifts. Channeling pylons are alright on this one. It's nice to have the extra teleport range and everything. Although, as you can see, your meteors are still one of your largest contributors to your damage. There are some boots that increase meteor damage. It'd be nice to have on this that I would change out some pieces of my Tal Rasha set to get that once damage becomes an issue. I need to reset some of my bonuses as I started actually taking damage. Which is not surprising with all the explosions, everything else going on. Oh, come on. So because of the massive amount of meteor damage, this spec works best when you can get things in large groups to take advantage of that. Shield pylon, always a welcome sight in hardcore. So the reason I'm using powerful as opposed to the stricken, I believe, is because typically what's giving me a harder problem right now is elite packs. Rarely do you go much more than a minute between elite packs, although you can see it fell off once or twice during that. But the 15% reduced damage from the elites is a very big deal early on until you get a little more survivability and whatnot lined up. So if you're wondering about the gear choice there, it's a personal preference. You can really go either one. I could really put both if the other one were higher level to increase the damage against the Rift Guardian. Oh, there we go. And that is the belt that I would use to change out to increase my damage from my spectral blade. It would also help keep arcane power up, which keeps the Aquila Curious buff going, although as you notice it's not a problem. Usually to get that to fall off you have to teleport and everything else all at once before it falls off, so rarely does it drop. Because teleport alone is not enough, so if you hit Explosive Blast, that'll drop it by itself. But that's about it, since I've got a little less than, or just over 100 arcane power. As that increases, that'll become less and less of an issue. So, because I was close to a level, I actually barely eked 3 out of that. So like I said, average is about 2. So, there you have it. Time to spend a few points, maybe redo some gems, see if I can't, maybe if I could get the helm. That would be nice. Kadala has been unpleasant in that regard. She keeps giving me the same helmets over and over, which I seem to have gotten yet again. So, there we go. Isn't that nice of the lovely lady?